Welcome to your yoga practice today. We're going to be doing a sequence today that is very much related to the base chakra, the first chakra. It's called the Muladhara chakra, which means the root chakra. It's the chakra on which all the other 6 chakras align themselves on top of. So it's a very important one, the most important one, being the foundation. If the foundation of anything is unsteady, what rises above it won't be secure. And this chakra is all about security, that feeling that you have all your basic needs met. The feeling of everything, like your food, your housing, your shelter, is all adequate, it's all abundant, nothing is lacking. It's the chakra of security, it's the chakra of feeling complete. The animal associated with this chakra is the elephant, the metal is lead. So as you can imagine, it's the biggest chakra, it's the slowest moving one, it's the densest one, and it resides right at the base of your body, the base of your spine, at your tailbone. I'm going to be talking more about this as we go through our sequence today, but as you might imagine, we're going to be staying very low to the ground, very much at the base of poses, and working particularly on the legs, the feet, and the ankles. Please begin on hands and knees. Look at your fingers, make sure that they're evenly separated, not widely spaced, just evenly separated. And in this hands and knees position, bring your big toes together so that they touch side by side. You're going to need a towel or a blanket today. So do pause now if you need to so that you can go and get that and come back. From here, having your towel near you, because you might well need it for child's pose, slowly sink your bottom, your pelvis, onto your heels and walk your hands further forward and bring your forehead either onto your towel or onto your mat so that your forehead is in contact with the ground, earthing down. The element associated with the Muladhara chakra is earth. Stay here for a good 5 breaths, noticing your breathing, breath being the most important life force. Breathe deeply and breathe evenly, as if your lungs stretched all the way down to your pelvis or even down to your tailbone. At the sides of your body, your ribs, between your armpits and your pelvis, expand fully on each inhalation and gently contract as you exhale. 2 more breaths like this. Now on your next inhalation, pick up your seat, rock your weight forward, come back to hands and knees, and look at your hands and really press down through the base of your index fingers, the base knuckle, and the soft squidgy part of your thumbs. Connecting very firmly with your hands. Transfer a little bit more weight forward, moving your chest forward so that you start to stretch your forearms and your wrist to a comfortable position. Hands like Sunday morning pancakes, connecting very strongly down into the mat and into the floor and thereby into the ground. Slightly claw the mat with your hands and with your fingertips so you even see the whites around your nails. Then, separating your feet, come into downward facing dog with bent knees. So keep your knees bent as you lift up away from the floor, pressing your pelvis up to the ceiling and then back. Let your head hang. Don't look at your hands, but be aware of pressing down through the base of your index fingers and your thumbs, your inner hands, grounding down into the earth. As you lift up your sitting bones, start to straighten your legs and press your heels down towards the ground. Now move your chest forward into a strong plank pose. Push the floor away from you as you raise your navel up in towards your spine. Squeeze your legs and press your tailbone down towards the floor. Look down at the floor So don't try and look forward or up, just keep looking down, rooting your gaze, your dristi, in between your hands, slightly ahead. Bring your knees down to the floor. Come back into child's pose. Sink your pelvis onto your heels and bring your forehead to the floor, or again onto your towel. Now raise your head and go back to downward facing dog. Lift up your seat, tuck your toes under, pick up your knees. Keep your knees bent if you feel like you need to, especially if you feel your lower back rounding in down dog. Or straighten your legs and press down through the center of your heels. Again, be aware of your hands, the inner hands rooting down. Come forward into plank again. Press your hands away from each other and then back towards your feet. Here your hands are becoming part of the connection to the earth, like your feet. In fact, you've got more of your hands on the floor here. So it's very important that you press down firmly, slightly claw the mat, protecting your wrists. Bring your knees to the floor. One more time, child's pose. Sit back onto your heels, forehead touches down. Pick your head up, pick your seat up, and walk your hands and your knees towards each other. Bring your knees together, bring your hands to your hips, and tuck your toes under and sit back onto your heels, stretching the plantar fascia, the soles of your feet. If your little toes start to stick forwards, just reach around and tuck them forwards. Sorry, if they go back, tuck them forwards so that even the little toes are getting a stretch. If this is too much and you feel tears springing to your eyes, bring your fingertips down to the floor. Otherwise, stay up. We're going to stay here for about 5 more seconds. Keep your breathing as steady as you can in this stressful position. It's going to be all right. We're not going to stay here forever. Now bring your hands down to the floor. It's over. The good thing is all bad things come to an end. Toenails to the floor. Now we're going to do a calf compression thing. So slightly widen your knees and bring your right shin on top of your left calf. And then slowly start to sit down onto your heels behind you. So your right shin bone is pressing in to your left calf. Now come out of this, but don't lose the shape. Just slide that right shin slightly back towards the left heel, and then sit back down again. As best you can. Come back up and change legs. So uncross your ankles, bring the left shin into the middle of the thickest part of the right calf muscles, and then walk back and sit onto your heels. I'm putting a bit of compression here into those muscles that make up the calf in order to actually lengthen them. Compressing helps to lengthen and unblock blockages. Bring that left knee to the floor and again slide it back, maybe just 3 or 4 centimeters, and sit back down again. You're a little closer to the ankle here. Keep your breathing steady. Bring your left knee back down to the floor and go back to downward facing dog. Place your hands down, separate your feet and press back. Separate your feet almost to the edges of your mat here, and the same thing with your hands. So you've got a very, very wide elephant-like base. Press your heels down strongly and let your head hang. Notice the distance that your heels are away from the floor, and even give it a number, 1 or 2 centimeters or an inch or so, maybe less, maybe more, and estimate the distance. Now bring your knees down to the floor. Remember that number. Bring your knees to the floor and come off your mat, go to the back of your mat and roll it up to about 1/3 of the way. Now it depends on the thickness of your mat. If you've got a travel mat, which is very thin, you're going to need to roll it up quite a lot. I've got a mat that's 3 or 4 millimeters thick. So I'm rolling it up to about here. Now, pick it up. And then from here, you're going to put it behind you, kind of like a cape, and come back to hands and knees. Now, nudge the roll of the mat behind the back of your knees. Stay with me here. This is worth it, I promise. It's worth the fuss. And sit back onto your heels. You may now think that it's not worth the fuss because this is pretty uncomfortable. But again, we're doing a really good compression here, not just on the calves, but you may well feel it in the hamstrings as well. Not too long. Press your toenails down to help you. And again, like we did with the toes under, you can bring your hands down to the floor to distribute your weight more forwards. Again, this will end about 5 more seconds. The demon associated with this chakra, by the way, is fear. So have no fear here. It's going to end right now. Bring your hands to the floor. Then roll back, just sort of one roll so that you're mid-calf, and sit back down again. Very different sensation here. For some people, this is more comfortable than the previous position, some vice versa. Final one, pick your seat up, roll back, go closer to the ankles so you're more on the Achilles tendon here, through the base of the soleus muscles. And bring your hands onto your legs. I find this way more comfortable, but not everyone's the same. It also depends on the ability that you have to point your toes, the tops of your feet, the flexibility of the front of your ankle. So remember, you can bring your hands to the floor if you need to. From here, come all the way up and go back into downward facing dog. So you're going to unravel this little cape that you've made, bring it back to the floor and go into down dog. Nice and wide again, index fingers pointing forwards. And then walk your hands back towards your feet, coming to Uttanasana at the back of your mat. Keep your fingers on the floor, and if you need to bend your knees, do. Draw your navel in towards your spine. Keep looking down in between your feet. Now, keeping your heels very heavy, raise your chest and look up. Then walk your hands forward, heavy heels, centered heels. Go back into downward facing dog. With an elephant-like walk, take your time. Very heavy, very slow, very ponderous. No rush. Press your heels down. Now as you press your heels down, remember the measurement, the number that you made earlier in 3 down dogs ago, and compare it to now. Press your heels down and give this a number. Perhaps your heels are a little lower, a little more earthed, a little more grounded. If they're not, that's okay, but notice it nonetheless. Bring your knees to the floor and come back to child's pose, big toes touch. Walk your hands forward and bring your forehead down. Raise your head and look at your hands and walk them over to the right, coming into side child's pose. Rest your right ribs on your right thigh and then bring your forehead either to the floor or just lower your head, letting your head hang in space. If you can walk your left hand a little closer to your right, lengthening the side ribs and lengthening the outside of the shoulder, then do that. Coming to the other side, raise your head, walk your hands back. Rest the left ribs on the left thigh as you bring your forehead to the floor, or at least lower, and see if you can perhaps comfortably move your right hand a little closer to the left. Raise your head, look at your hands, walk them back into the center, and come into plank pose again. So pick up your seat, walk your feet back for plank, very strong. Bring your feet together Keep both hands on the floor as you bring the outside of your left foot to the floor, the little toe edge spinning on your heels. Keep both hands on the floor. Now come back to center. Go onto the outside edge of your right foot. Come back to center. Do that one more time. Outside edge of the left foot, and shuffle your feet around so that they stay more or less central. Come back to center, and then the other side. Come back to center. Separate your feet in plank. Bring your knees down to the floor. And come all the way down. Draw your shoulders towards your knees as you do this. Bring your hands to the floor and bring your feet to the floor. A variation here of locust pose, Shalabhasana. Keep your hands and your feet on the floor the whole time. Squeeze your legs strong. And keeping your hands on the floor, make your hands lighter as if you were picking them up. But they just stay in contact with the ground, just. And do the same thing with the feet. Very lightly grazing the floor with the hairs of your feet. Pick up your throat, slightly tuck your chin down so you lengthen the back of your neck. Now heavy feet, bring your feet completely down. Change your hand position, bringing your hands by the sides of your waist. Curl up to a baby cobra, not too high. Press your shoulders back towards your knees. We're going to stay here for a little longer than you would probably normally do in Cobra, so do keep it low. Length of time is the challenge rather than the depth of the pose. Draw your navel in towards your spine. Slightly squeeze your pelvic floor here, activating the Mula Bandha, the root lock. Breathe deeply. And then come all the way down and rest for a moment here. Bring your hands underneath your forehead, rest your forehead on the backs of your hands, and stay here, completely resting the back body. Relax your shoulders, soften your legs, and breathe consciously. Breathing again as if your lungs occupied your entire abdominal cavity all the way down to your pelvis and your tailbone. This chakra, as I said before, is red. Imagine now, as you breathe, that you're augmenting that color. You're bringing more red into that red, making it more opaque, giving it more strength, more energy with every inhalation that you take. Now please come back into downward facing dog. Raise your head off your hands, bring your hands by the sides of your ribs. Either roll over your toes or tuck them under one by one. Foot by foot, I should say. Lift up and press back. Walk your hands back towards your feet. Bring your hands onto your hips. Bend your knees and come up to standing. Finally, we stand. Come into the center of your mat and step wide. Keep your hands on your hips. Press your hands down, earthing your hips, earthing your pelvis. Look at your right foot. Turn your right toes away from you to the short edge of your mat and bend your right knee so that you're coming into Warrior Two with your legs. Press down really strongly with the back foot, particularly the outside edge, the little toe edge. Keep your hands low. Maybe bend that right knee a little bit more. Now look at your right knee. There's a big thunderstorm going on here, by the way. You might be able to hear it. Look at your right knee and bring the back of your right hand inside the knee and gently press that knee over to the left using the strength of your arm. Look down at the right knee. Keep your sight low. Now bring your left hand inside the left inner thigh and slightly pull up. So you're really opening up your hips here. Keep looking down. Now bring your hands back onto your hips, straighten your right leg, turn your right toes forwards and turn your left toes to the other end of the mat. Bend that left knee. Bring the back of your left hand inside the leg again. Don't reach too forward for the knee, otherwise you're going to be moving your spine forward. Keep upright. Just press the hand in mid-thigh, mid-inner thigh. Then bring your right hand around. So drop a little bit so that you can kind of hook around the inner thigh, pull it up, and then both arms quite strong here as you press them behind you. Press your legs behind you. And look at your left knee. If you can see your left big toenail, things are good here. Your knee is moving over your middle toe. If not, you might need to actually release the pose slightly and straighten that front knee a little bit so that your alignment is good for your knee. Now bring your hands onto your hips, straighten that left leg, turn all of your toes forward and bring your fingertips to the floor for a standing forward fold, Prasarita, Padottanasana. Now for the first stage, raise your chin. Look forwards, don't look up too much. We're keeping low still. Lift up your two sitting bones. Keep breathing. Stage 2, walk your hands back so your toenails and fingernails line up in a straight line. And maybe you can even bring the palms of your hands down or come towards that as the crown of your head points closer towards the ground. Draw your shoulders up away from the floor and onto your back. Squeeze your legs strong and bring your attention to your feet, pressing down with the inner feet and the outer feet more or less equally. Your toes and your heels likewise. There's a very strong Singapore tropical storm going on out there. It's been raining so much these days. These storms can get incredibly loud. There's nature banging a drum. We need this water though, it's good. Now raise your chest, look up, bring your fingertips underneath your shoulders again, back to stage 1. Now heel toe your feet together, bend your knees as soon as you need to, and come down into a squat. Bend your knees, come all the way down. Bring your hands to one side so that you can sit down and reach around for your towel. Sit on it so that when we now come into Baddha, bound angle pose, you've got a little bit of a seat there for your pelvis and it makes this pose so much easier. Bring the soles of your feet together, hands on the floor behind you. Press your feet together to open up your hips and look at your feet. Press the base of your big toes together quite firmly. Squeeze your bottom. Now raise your chin and look a little bit more forward, maybe 1.5 meters ahead of you. If this pose is relatively easy for you and you feel that your knees, or you can see that your knees are not up too high, bring your hands around your feet. If your lower back, when you raise your chest, feels quite straight, or maybe even keeps that little back bend, feel free to come forwards. But if you feel like you're really sitting on the backs of your sitting bones, stay upright. Keep your breathing deep and smooth. As you squeeze your bottom, maybe you can bring your knees down and to the side walls a little more easily. You might even be able to bring your elbows in front of your shins and dig in with your elbows. But only if you have this range of motion. Don't be a slave to the pose. Make the pose work for you. You find your depth. Nobody's judging. Inhale, come all the way up. Bring your hands to the floor behind you. And come back to hands and knees. So move the blanket away. From here, step your right foot to the outside of your right hand. So move your right hand a little closer to the left and step the right foot forward. Move the back knee back. If you want to get that blanket again and put it underneath the back knee for some cushioning, feel free, or you can double up your mat for some cushion for the knee. We're not going to be here for too long. Bring your navel in towards your spine and turn your right toes a little bit more towards the outside of the right mat. So a little bit of an angle in that right foot. And then move your hands over towards the left. Keep pressing your front foot towards your back knee and the back knee forwards as you move your chest over your right hand, maybe a little bit more. So you're deepening the lengthening that you're giving on the front of the left hip, that hip flexor. Some of you might be able to come down a little bit more with your chest, and you may find that you can bring your left elbow to the floor, or if you have a block, put your left elbow on the block or the blanket. If that's going okay for you, then possibly the right elbow can come down. Wherever you are, come back to your breathing. Smooth, sustained breaths. Now bring your hands back to the floor if your elbows were down. We're going to stay in this basic position, but we're going to tweak it a little bit. Move the right foot so that, again, it's in that position with the toes pointing straight forward. And move your right hand slightly back, and the left hand, so that you can press that right leg into the right shoulder, or just below the right shoulder. And make this strong. Press your right leg into your right arm really strongly. You stay as you are. I'm just going to move so that you can see that better if you're not sure what I mean. You're pressing the inner right thigh into the upper arm. That's it. So look up if you need to so that you can see me doing it. Make this strong. Imagine that you've got a winning lottery ticket in between that right arm and right leg, and someone's trying to pull it away and you're really pressing it in. Now release that and go back to hands and knees. Take your time going back. Your leg's been in that position for a long time. Now move your hands over towards the right so that you can step your left foot forward. So we're going to do the very big opening and stretch first. Move your left foot maybe a little bit more forward and turn the toes out towards the edge of the mat. You might move your back knee back a little bit here. Keep the back toenails on the floor, grounding down. And possibly little bit by little bit, you may find that you're able to lower your chest. As you move your chest forward, press that front foot towards your back knee. And keep toning across your belly. Keep some abdominal strength here. And again, maybe little bit by little bit, you can find a little bit more opening to bring your right elbow and then possibly your left elbow down, coming into, this pose has lots of names, lizard, gecko. Press your shoulders towards your back foot. Keep looking at the floor. Try and soften your gaze at just one focal point, rather than moving your sight all around. Come back up if your elbows were down, and bring your foot back into a central position with the toes pointing forwards. Move your left hand slightly back so that you really have some purchase here. You can press that left leg into the upper arm, and the arm presses back. A little bit of argy-bargy going on here. Squeeze both sides of your pelvis, both glutes, both buttocks. And then please go back to downward facing dog. So step back, place your hands, lift up, and press back. Walk your hands back towards your feet slowly, elephant steps. Bend your knees if you need to here, please. Stay here in Uttanasana. Again, toning across your belly. So draw your navel into your spine. Lift up your sitting bones. Hang your head. Look at the floor behind your heels if you can. Just let your gaze naturally rest wherever the angle of your face directs it. Coming to standing, bend your knees. Bring your arms out to the side. Come all the way up. Come back into the middle of the mat and step wide again. One last time, a wide-legged pose. Bring your hands to your hips. Turn your right toes forward to the front edge of your mat. Bend your right knee. Perhaps this time you can come a little lower. Now we've done a lot of hip work. Maybe you can move that back foot back a little bit more, as long as you're keeping your shin bone straight up and down. Now, bring your right hand up, Stretch the fingers straight and strong. And bring your right fingertips inside, so a variation of Konasana, inside your heel. Turn your chest, but keep looking down. So you turn your chest and your belly up towards the ceiling a little bit more as you bring your navel into your spine. Option to keep your left hand on your hip, or stretch your arm over your ear with the palm facing down. Keep looking down. Quite often in this pose, we're encouraged to turn up to look underneath the armpit, but today, keep grounded, keep low. Stretch a little bit more. Now you're going to come up into Warrior Two. So keep looking down, but straighten your left hand up towards the ceiling. Keep that right leg really strong and push down through your right foot as you bring your torso up, bring your arms up, coming into a classic Virabhadrasana 2 pose. How's that right leg? Straighten your right leg. Bring your hands onto your hips. Turn your feet forward. Turn your right foot forward. Turn your left foot out. Keep your hands on your hips to begin with. Bend your left knee. Very strong movements here in the legs. Bring your left fingertips to the floor inside your heel, and a little bit back of the heel. Press the leg into the arm and the arm into the leg. Turn your chest. Stretch your right arm over your ear, or keep your hand on your hip. And keep that pressing, that argy-bargy as I called it earlier, of the leg into the arm. Straighten the leg that you can't see, that right leg, and push the outside edge of the foot down. Lengthen the entire right side of your body, reaching more with your fingertips. Now we're going to come up into Warrior Two, so stretch your right hand up towards the ceiling, and then bring those right ribs up as you come into Virabhadrasana 2. Look over your left hand. Bring your hands onto your hips now and straighten that leg. Turn all of your toes forward. And one last time, come to the second stage of Prasarita. So fold forward, bring your hands to the floor and round down. Now from here, raise your chest, walk your hands forward. Heel toe your feet together like you did before. Bring your feet together. Stay here in Uttanasana. Uttanasana with your feet together is pretty hard, so feel free to bend your knees if you need to. Now do bend your knees and come all the way down into a squat. Come down onto the floor. Park your bottom right in the middle of your mat. Come all the way down onto your elbows and your back. If you've got a ponytail in, you might want to loosen it. We're going to be on the floor for a little bit here, just for a minute or two, but enough for a ponytail to bother you. Pick up your knees. Inner feet touch, the big toe side of your feet touch, but show the soles of your feet to the back of the room, to the front of your mat. And then draw your knees down in towards your shoulders. Stay here as you press your heels down towards your bottom. Then pick up your arms, and with straight arms, bring your arms inside your knees, reaching, stretching your hands like you're giving someone a high five, a double high five, and they're a little bit far away. There's social distancing. Then press your arms into your legs and your legs back into your arms. So again, you're toning, you're stabilizing your hips. Keep your head on the floor. Legs into arms, arms into legs, pretty strong. Then draw your navel down in towards your spine. And then rest. Bring your feet to the floor, bring your hands to the floor, stay here. Coming back to your breath. Deepen your breathing to a comfortable cadence for you. Recovering from the stress that you just put yourself under, that I just put you under. Using your breath to slow your heart rate down and steady yourself. We're going to do that again, but we're going to add something into it. Bring your feet up off the floor. Bend your knees so your heels come down towards your bottom. Like a jigsaw puzzle, bring the inner feet together. Bring your arms up. Then inhale and exhale, picking up your head, your shoulders, your back, sliding your elbows as much as you can through your legs. Now maybe even pick up your tailbone a little bit here. Press your legs into your arms and your arms into your legs. Slightly raise your chin and look up towards the ceiling. Stay here for a few more breaths. Long, smooth, steady breaths are not so easy here. Just breathe as best you can, but do breathe. And then rest again. Bring your head down, your feet down, your arms down. Now roll over onto your side and come back into a squat. Come into a squat so that you are sort of slightly back of the mat. You've got some space ahead of you. There's a runway. And bring your arms inside your legs. We're going to look here at Bakasana, at crow pose, so that your hands become your feet. You're not necessarily going to do the whole pose. I'm going to teach you stages. Look at your hands and make sure that your fingers are evenly spaced. Press down through your hands nice and flat, like Sunday morning pancakes. Press down through the base of your index fingers and your inner hands really strongly in order to protect your wrists. Keep your bottom close to your heels and rock your weight forward, putting more weight onto your hands. Then clamp your inner knees into your upper arms. Draw your shoulders away from your ears and your navel up to your spine, so your abdominal muscles are really engaged. Please feel free to stay here or pick up one foot, bringing that heel up to that buttock and bring it down. And then the other, like you're doing little can-cans with your feet. Please feel free to carry on with that. Or possibly, as you raise your chin and look up, pick up one foot and you might find that the other foot lifts up. Keep raising your chin so that you don't land on your face. Keep pressing your legs into your arms. And then come down if you were up. Take a couple of breaths. And come into child's pose. Walk your hands forward. Bring your knees to the floor. Big toes touch side by side. In this child's pose, your elbows are on the floor so that you can rest your arms and your shoulders. Bring your forehead down. And rest. Come into downward facing dog. This is your last down dog of this sequence. Not necessarily of the day. You may well feel like you want to do another class after this. I do, by the way, have lots of other classes on the chakras. I'll put a link at the end of this sequence so that you can have a look at those at any time. Coming into Pigeon Prep, bring your right knee behind your right wrist. Bring your back knee down to the floor and back toenails down as well. Don't worry if your bottom is high up off the floor, but please don't bring your right buttock down to the floor. Squeeze your knees towards each other and press your feet down firmly, even the toenails of your back foot. Now bring your elbows down and rest your head on your stacked fists or on your flat hands. As you do this, keep a gentle pressing down of your feet and pressing of your knees towards each other. Gentle, so about 30% of your complete capacity. It's kind of like a background hum of support. Now come back up into that first position and bring your right buttock to the floor. Bring your left leg all the way around. I'm going to mirror you here. You can either put your left foot inside your right foot and twist from here, or bring your foot over. If you have a little bit more flexibility, bring it over. Make sure that that left buttock is on the floor. Bring your left hand onto the knee, your right hand onto your knee, left hand on the floor behind you, and turn. Use your hand to draw your knee over towards the right. And if that's going well for you, bring the inner elbow, so slide the forearm around the leg so that the elbow, the inner elbow, the crook of your elbow, can come to the outside of that left knee. Now, please think of this twist as an easy relaxation twist. Do keep pressing your feet down, again, that 30% of strength. But don't try and come to the biggest twist of your life. Just think of this as a lovely, nourishing stretch of your back. The muscles being stretched in a diagonal fashion. Keep drawing the left shoulder slightly back, but slightly, gently. Now come back to center. From here, if you're comfortable with Gomukhasana legs, slide that right foot out to the side and stack your knees. If that seems like a ridiculous idea, don't even come near to it. Bring your foot over and come into a cross-legged position with your left shin in front. Whatever you're doing, move your bottom slightly back. Bring your hands onto your knees and perhaps fold forward a little bit here. Bring your hands ahead of you. I say perhaps because if you've got an injury in your knees, your ankles, your hips, you're going to stay upright. So you're either cross-legged with your left leg in front, or you're stacking knee on knee in Gomukhasana. Now from here, if you're down, come all the way up and go back into downward facing dog. If you can roll forward and come to down dog. Otherwise, don't do that. Untangle yourself by leaning back and come back. Bring your left knee behind your left wrist. Bring your back knee down to the floor. So we're going to repeat this sequence all on the left side. Back toenails come down. Squeeze your knees towards each other, blade your feet down. Remember that 30% of your strength. And then start to lower your Pigeon Prep. This is called Sleeping Swan in Yin, but we're not holding it for a Yin amount of time. Stack the other fist on top, or the other flat hand on top. Keep a little bit of strength here. Come back to your breathing. Make sure that your shoulders are soft and you're gently pressing them back towards your back foot. As you press that back foot down, earth it down. Come back up again. Use your hands to help push your chest up. Bring your left buttock down to the floor. And then bring your right leg around. Place it inside the knee or to the outside of the knee. Left hand on the floor behind you, quite close to you, so you can prop yourself up nicely. And then bring your hand around that right knee, sorry, that left knee and draw it over. Right knee, sorry. Stay here or slide your forearm down and bring the inner elbow around. Again, softness. Press your feet down. Gently draw your navel into your spine. And keep slightly looking down, lower your chin. A little bit like your vision is a little bit like a lightning conductor, earthing the electricity, the lightning, which we're experiencing right now here in Singapore, down to the ground, earthing all of that buzz, bringing it down, honing it down to calm. Now release the twist, turn back to center. You're going to stack your knees by bringing that right foot over, or sit cross-legged with your right foot in front. You choose, make a good decision. Move your bottom back, bring your hands to your knees and fold forwards. Or not, stay up. Obviously folding forwards deepens the stretch in that right hip. If you're not ready for it, don't do it. I was listening to my teacher, Noah Mazet, teaching a class online a few days ago, and he was talking about yoga being very much a practice that you have to repeat and repeat, and once in a while there's a big breakthrough. He was likening it to the story of Hanuman, the monkey god, who leapt over from India across the ocean to Lanka, to Sri Lanka, to rescue a princess, a city princess who'd been taken by Rama, the demon. Slowly come up. He was the one that did the big leap. The rest of the thousands of the armies of monkeys, uncross, they had to throw rocks into the ocean to build a bridge, which took thousands of years. Come to lying down, but with your knees bent. So they had to do that drudgery work, that repeated work, gathering rocks, throwing them into the ocean, gathering more rocks, throwing them into the ocean. Whilst Hanuman, cross your right leg over your left, draw your knees in towards your chest. Whilst Hanuman did the big leap, the spectacular breakthrough. It's very similar to a yoga practice. Once in a while, maybe every 10, 20, 50 classes, especially if the longer you practice, the longer it takes to get to those more advanced poses. Draw your knees in towards your chest as you relax your shoulders. So only once in a while you recognize a huge leap of picking your feet up in Bakasana, for example, in crow pose, the arm balance that we just did. But most of the time it's just work. Coming back and back and back again, where you feel like you're at a plateau. There's not a lot of change. But then all of a sudden the bridge is built. The feet come off. You land on the island. Take your hands away, uncross your legs, left leg on top. Bring your right hand onto the first knee, your left hand onto the knee that's further away. And that's very similar to the Muladhara Chakra, the slow burn. Set that foundation, and then the more spiritual matters can come to hand. That basic feeling of security needs to be laid before you're able to really reach your full potential. Now release your hands, bring your feet to the floor, uncross that leg, and bring the soles of your feet together so you're coming now into Supta Baddha Konasana. Rest, tuck your shoulder blades under, turn your palms up, soles of your feet touching. Bring your right hand onto your chest and your left hand onto your belly. We're going to come into a very simple pranayama exercise, simply counting to 4 with each inhalation and exhalation. Please finish this exhalation, and then breathe in deeply. Inhale, 1, 2, 3, 4. Exhale, 4, 3, 2, 1. Inhale, 1, 2, 3, 4. Exhale, 4, 3, 2, 1. Now keep this pranayama going at your own rhythm. Breathing in to the count of 4 and breathing out to the count of 4. About 5 more breaths like this. Soften and deepen your breath. Keep going. And when you come to the end of this next exhalation, come back into normal breathing. Bring the backs of your hands to the floor. Draw your knees towards each other. Lengthen your left leg down the mat towards the left corner, and the right leg down the mat towards the right corner. Find your shavasana, find your position. Get a little more comfortable. Maybe lengthen your t-shirt down your hips. Make sure your fingers are loosely curled and your feet are very relaxed and turned away from each other. Stay here. Returning to the earth, corpse pose. Let yourself be held by the earth. Feel safe. Feel secure. Feel grounded. A person with a balanced and healthy root chakra is grounded, connected to the earth and the physical body. At the same time, there's also a deep connection to the expansiveness of spirit and sky. One feels able to manifest desires, making things happen to create stability in the physical world. Trust and security in life and in the self is evident in high self-esteem and confidence. One is able to feel deserving when receiving gifts and material gains without shame or guilt. A healthy root chakra brings about overall health, stability, prosperity, security, strength, and confidence. With it comes an aspect of innocence and ability to experience childlike wonder and joy without being limited by judgmental conditioning. Stay here for a few more moments in deep relaxation, practicing deep relaxation. Bend your knees one leg at a time, bringing the soles of your feet back in contact with your mat, with the floor, and so with the earth. Roll over onto your right side and stay here for a few moments. Maya Angelou said, "Stand up straight and realize who you are, that you tower over your circumstances." Feel those words. Be those words. Now please roll over onto your side. Push yourself up into a seated position. Sorry, you were already on your side. Just push yourself up. Sit tall, sit with confidence, sit with strength. Notice your two sitting bones here, and that you're sitting equally on both sides. Bring your hands into your heart. Lower your chin so that it touches your fingertips. Release your hands and bring them down to the floor. Raise your chin. Namaste. If you're interested in learning more about the chakras, please have a look at this playlist up here, and you'll find a whole host of yin classes, yang, hatha and vinyasa on the chakras. I hope that you enjoyed this class. Please do keep coming back to my classes. Make any comments, questions or suggestions in the comments box below. And please remember to like and subscribe. Thank you very much.